We're live. I think we're live. And this is the age-old question I always ask myself every time I go. So let me just give me 1 second, Darren, to see if we actually are. Yep, we are. Okay. I just want to make sure. I'll turn that off. Yeah. So we're live, and this is it is hot. This is one of the unexpected. Um, I shouldn't even say it's unexpected. I mean, in southern Ontario here, we get these kind of heat waves. It seems like as a norm here in the Greater Toronto area, and it is a scorcher. So why am I outside? You're asking? Because it's hot. I should be inside like I normally am. You know what? I wanted to have one of these podcasts, and I tried to do it last one to do it outside, and things didn't work out that time. So really, if you think about it here, because we live in the Great White North, Darren can attest, but actually he lives in a nicer area. uh, we only really get, if I'm doing this monthly, I only get really two, maybe three opportunities to come outside and do it. So this is one of them. Bear with me. If you hear a gas powered, uh, what is it? What did I call it?
Pressure washer.
Pressure washer. Yeah. If you hear a pressure washer, or if you hear kids playing basketball or kids frolicking in the pool. That's just the ambient background noise. So just bear with me, folks. If it gets really terrible, dogs barking, and you may hear the odd loud muffler car go by, because my street is predominantly, like I guess here in Canada, predominantly ice vehicles. So bear with me. I'll do my best. But before I go any further, and talk about my whole backyard and everything, I'm going to introduce my guest, my special guest. He's been on many times. He took a little hiatus. I gave him a break because I was just working him too hard. And
Yeah.
he's probably one of the hardest working journalists in the Tesla and EV community. That's not even something to argue about. He definitely is. Darren from Drive Tesla Canada, welcome to the show.
Thanks, X. Thanks for having me.
No
Happy to
problem.
be back after a bit of a pause there for a while.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you back. I mean, listen, I get all my articles and all my topics at least 99% of the times from your website. So why, like I've always said in the past, why not just, you know, cut through the middleman and the digital thing and just speak to the man himself? That's what I mean. You probably write the majority of the articles on the website, right? If I'm not
I do.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you you,
Yeah.
you have
Most
you have
certainly.
some good helpers, but yeah, this is something that you you know you what am I trying to say? Put your you bleed Tesla, and I wouldn't say that. That's maybe a little too
Maybe a
graphic.
little too far, but
Yeah,
close.
yeah. You do a great job, is what I'm basically trying to say.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Yeah, no complaints. Enjoying the summertime.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
depressing when you say there's only like 2 or 3 opportunities to do these outside in a
well,
year.
I when I said it, I was going to encompass all of Canada, but you know, us people in Toronto, we think we represent the country when we don't. So I quickly stopped myself,
Yeah.
because that's why the rest of the country resents us. uh, and I remembered, like, you, where you are on the West Coast, you have beautiful weather almost year round, and I go, obviously this time of year it's more better or better. But when we're digging out of snow and freezing our butts off, you've got, manageable, likable temperatures.
Yeah, we have I'd say lately in the last 2 years, like from April onwards, we have pretty good weather. So
That's awesome. I'm
yeah.
moving out there when I retire for sure, buddy. Find me a place to live
I'll
now.
be here to welcome you.
Yeah, thanks, dude. We've got, you know what? Because we do these monthly now, or I do these monthly. Um, what I've said before on the podcast, we try to encompass everything that we like, topic wise, that we didn't talk about since the last podcast. So, but at the same time, I can only have, like, half a dozen topics or so. I don't want to make this a 4-hour podcast. So I don't want to go through the entire news of the month. So I try to, you know, weed through it and find the best topics or the most important or, most interesting topics within the month. So we've got a jam-packed show. We've got, like I said, a handful of topics, and we've got the expert here that because we were talking about this before we flipped the switch and went live, when I mess up the topic and mess up the information, Darren, Darren is here to rescue me. When I'm doing this by myself, people that are listening to the audio podcast or watching this live are probably like smashing their steering wheel saying, "You idiot. No, you got it wrong."
That's not right.
Darren is here to correct me. So you guys you won't be swearing and driving off the road as much. Okay. So without any delay here, let's get the first topic. And you know what? The first topic is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's pretty non-surprising. We're going to talk about the Q2 numbers for 2023, and they were. What word would you use, Darren, for this? They were expected, surprising, unbelievable. I don't know what would you.
More the latter. Surprising.
Yeah.
Most were expecting sub 450,000, but they were able to pull out, what was it, 466,000, I think it was.
Yeah.
Deliveries.
And
production as well was huge. Almost 480,000.
Almost 480,000 cars produced. That's yeah. And you know what? I mean, we don't have to go through the numbers. I mean, if you listen, we're just going to touch on the topic itself, and that's what I was talking about. Now they're vacuuming the car. So can you hear that?
Just a little bit.
Okay, good. Because I can
hear not too bad.
Okay. I can hear a lot, and just in case, I've got headphones just in case if it's too loud for me. But if I can't hear you and it's too loud for me, I probably may have to switch and go inside. But if you say that it's bearable, then it's fine. Yeah. So 400, almost 480 produced, and you said about 466 delivered, roughly. And of course, Tesla never breaks this down. Reading what you wrote here, the majority of units produced were Model 3s and Model Ys, which we know, with 460,000 units built at Fremont, Giga Texas, and Berlin, and Giga Shanghai. Meanwhile, production of the flagship SNX. Okay, so 20,000 for SNX, which is usually around that number, isn't it?
It's about the norm these days.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you said right here it was just a few dozen off Q1 numbers for the SNX.
Yeah.
So what was the street was lower? You said it was under 4. They're expecting 447. So yeah.
So they beat it by 20,000, which is usually when they exceed the estimates, it's like within 5, maybe 10,000. At the top end of the range, but to beat it by 20,000 is a big surprise, I think.
Yeah, and I thought, I don't know about you, this is the pessimistic in me. I thought, okay, Monday morning, even though it was only a half trading day because of the holiday, long weekend, I thought for sure, like normal, the stock will take a dive.
I thought exactly the same thing.
Yeah, but happily,
and it didn't.
We had a happy surprise. Yeah, it actually went up. And off topic, just while we're on stock, but off topic of Tesla, Rivian. What happened with Rivian? Rivian went their stock. I mean, they had their production numbers and they were good too. And I
they had good numbers
for that. But their stock just wow, like it.
Yeah, I think in the case of Rivian, they blew expectations out of the water. And when you're that new of a company and you've been struggling as much as they have, that's probably why their stock saw such a huge jump.
That's good. I'm happy for them because you know what? I always like Rivian, and full disclosure, I actually have a reservation reserved or whatever, an order, whatever, and not an order, but I'm waiting to see what
your
the
name's
price
in
is.
line.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to see them do good, but they were not impressing me in the last 6 to 9 months, 2 or 3 quarters. So it's good to see that they're coming around, and they may fulfill their yearly guesstimates or what's the word?
Production guidance.
Production guidance. That's it. I don't know
Yeah.
all these technical terms like you do. I appreciate it. So getting back to Tesla, they did amazing, and the stock did decent. I don't know what it did today, but
I think it was it was up today.
So with the half year gone, or the half year already, they're just over 800 or something like that. I think rough back of the napkin math type of thing. What I heard, or what I'm estimating, is for the rest of the year to meet their someone's getting murdered over there.
Sounds like it.
Okay, you can hear that, yeah. No, I'm kidding. Nobody's getting murdered. If you're listening at home, they're only have to do just under $1 million to meet their guidance for the year 2023.
Yeah.
They're what, 1.8?
Yeah, the guidance was 1.8, and they're at just
Yeah.
under 900,000 right now. So they're in
Yeah.
good shape to meet that. But if you remember as well, Elon said that there's an outside chance if everything goes well.
Yep.
Unlike the last 2 years, they have a chance of meeting 2.
I
And
think, you know what?
based on the growth from Q1 to Q2, if that continues for 3 and 4, they could easily reach 2 million. Yeah.
I think they're going to do it. I mean, I'm no Nostradamus here by saying that. I mean, like you said, it looks like they're going to. I mean, you got to remember too. I mean, when I first heard the numbers, when was that, on Sunday or Saturday or whenever they came out, I was like, wow, I was shocked, and I was happily surprised and everything. But then after it sunk in for a while, I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. They literally have 4 factories now. It's not the 1 or 2, like it's not Fremont and Shanghai that we're relying on. Now they've got 4 factories, and apparently all of them are supposed to be, full production at 5,000 or more
Per
so
week,
yeah, per week. So I was surprised, but then I thought, you know what, that's good, and it shows that they're doing these numbers because of all these factories, and they should be able to do. Yeah, they should be able. I'm thinking. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you think I'm out to lunch. I mean, they're so close, this one, but I think next quarter, quarter 3, they may break the 500,000 for the quarter. That'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a shot. I mean, it went from 422 to 466, so that's 40,000 jump. If they can do that again, yeah, it'll be over 5. And that could include the Cybertruck.
It can. Oh, buddy, that would be amazing. Okay, well, that was an article that was a topic we were going to talk about. I mean, we can never have a podcast and not talk about the Cybertruck, especially right now when it's so much in the news, and so the excitement is there and everything. So I did have a topic for it, so it wasn't going to be a Cybertruck free podcast. Trust me, folks. But while we're on it, what do you think? Do you think that they're gonna? I know Elon said that the delivery event is going to be September, and then I think he said late September. Delivery event aside, and I know usually that's corresponds to when production starts, or soon there, before or after, at least light production or the beginning of production. Obviously, It's not full production, but do you think that we're going to see something in this quarter this quarter to win the third quarter?
I think there is a very good chance that we'll see the Cybertruck production start maybe late this month, early next month. Definitely a good shot of a delivery event in September then, if that comes true.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too, because I'm listening to probably the same things you're listening to, obviously, and reading and stuff like that, that you're putting out, and everyone in the know. And I think you did that one article, and I don't know if that's one of the things. I think it may be when we're talking about it, the Tagmeyer, the Joe Tagmeyer rumor that they're shutting down. It's this week, right? It would be currently right now.
Should be happening now. Yep.
Yeah, and a portion of the staff, the swing shift or something like that, is going to be going over to the Cybertruck line for testing and training and all that kind of stuff. So it's so close. I mean, it's really close. I mean, we're seeing all the prototypes on the road more and more. We're seeing them regular ones. We're seeing camouflage. What's his face? Franz is bringing them out to the Peterson
Yeah.
and showing it off. So yeah, it's close. And
Yeah, and when you
you
look at those, when you see those ones that have been spotted, the quality on them is top notch. So it must be very close.
yeah, I'm thinking so too. But it's funny you talk about the quality and everything. You scroll through Twitter, and Twitter, you say what you want about Facebook. Twitter's just as bad. I think it's just the internet in general. I mean, Reddit you could say the same thing for Reddit, but you scroll through the internet, let's just say, and you see all these naysayers showing pictures and up close snaps of the one that was I think it was the one that was at the Peterson resumed, like the very early one, if not the very first one, where there's like it's in rough shape. You can tell where there's panels, like big gaps and stuff like that, and pieces are scratched up and everything. And of course, their caption in those photos, and they're making fun. They're like, "Oh yeah, within spec." And
Yeah.
And I know that drives me nuts. I try not to be a fanboy of Tesla. I try to be level-headed and call it, call a spade, and call them out when they do the wrong thing, which they're not perfect. They do every now and then, right? But at the same time, I hate to see when these guys just trash for no reason, like literally no reason.
Yeah.
Oh, I was neglecting, and I apologize. I was neglecting the chat down below in the stream. Gary, welcome to the show, Gary. Gary's been talking about. They had the original 2019 prototype, the one that we were this close to getting a test drive in. This close. When I say this close, we were probably a good 45 minutes out, but still, compared to the lineup that we first got into to when they actually shut it down, we were close. So yeah, so that's exciting. The numbers, Cybertruck coming. I'm glad I was getting to get your predictions because you're in the know. And I mean, there's stuff. Do you believe, let me just, before we move on to the next topic, do you believe, like others have alluded to, that maybe, just maybe, we haven't seen, with all the prototypes and the ones driving around and even the camouflage ones and everything, do you think that Tesla is maybe holding out on something that they're not putting out there deliberately or intentionally to not, tip their hand
for the Cybertruck?
Yeah, for the Cybertruck. Like some people are thinking, there's something that Tesla's holding back. This is like 95 or 90% what it's going to look like, but there's still a 5 or 10% difference that we're not seeing yet.
I don't think so. No, I think what we're seeing now is, I mean, there'll probably be some minor, let's call them feature changes, or features that we haven't seen or heard about that'll come when it's officially announced. But in terms of looks at it, I think what we see is what we're going to get. Project Highland, the Model 3 refresh, I think, they definitely haven't shown everything that they're planning on changing.
Well, they don't want to show anything. they're going out of their way to not. I mean, the little bit that we do know of it, actually more than a little bit, what we do know of the Highland is all leaks. I mean, I think it's. I mean, that one photo with it being untarped, I think is valid. And I know we touched on this in one of the other podcasts previously a few months ago. I think it's valid. I think it's a real photo. It's not photoshopped or anything like that. Yeah. But that's just, and obviously Tesla didn't want us to see that I'm sure, and maybe we'll find out one of these days down the road. I'm sure someone got fired for that. I mean, I shouldn't laugh. I mean, if someone got fired, that's not a good thing. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised either, right? I mean, in this day and age, I was saying this to a friend of mine a few weeks ago when we were talking about Tesla. In this day and age, to think that anything, whether a big company or small company, anything could be kept secret or hidden from public with the internet and leaks and everything. And money talks, right? You offer someone enough money. Look at Apple. Apple's one of the biggest companies, right, in the world, and they can't even keep tabs on leaks and stuff like that. I mean, we know for the last 3 or 4 years, we've known every iPhone design wise and feature wise months before it comes out.
Yeah.
If not more than months. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult to keep things under wraps these days.
But for Tesla to do as good as a job as they're doing is an achievement, is an accomplishment, in my opinion. I mean, the Cybertruck. I mean, I know we're going back 4 years now, but just use the Cybertruck for example. Like no one. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you turn around and say, "Oh, I knew it was going to look like that." I just couldn't say or anything. I call a liar if someone says that.
Yeah, that
like,
one was impressive.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive. Gary says, and yet Model Y is outselling the 3. So if Highland refresh is needed, yeah, it is probably needed. And that's why they're doing it. See, Tesla's ahead of the game, right? I think they saw this coming and they knew, and that's why they were working on it. Who knows? Maybe they've been working on Highland for the last 3 years. Who knows? The minute they put pencils down and they started talking about and moved on their attention to the Y, as they iterated with the 3, they never really stopped. But maybe they started working on the Highland back then. Who knows? Like, I mean, I'm sure one day someone will sit down with Elon or Franz and maybe get the goods and find out actually what is the story behind it, right? And what's Model Y? Juniper or
Yep, Juniper.
I'm thinking Jupiter for some reason. Yeah. So no, that'll
be the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Is it just me? No, it's not just me. Let me correct myself. It's funny that every day or multiple times in a day, every day for the last few weeks, or at least the last week, you read this article where the Model Y has broken this record in this country, has broken that record in that country. Like everywhere everywhere I turn, I'm hearing these records being broken, or it's number 1 or number 2, or it's displaced this reigning champion. It's like, isn't, I mean, I know you said the word impressive. I don't even know. I think it's for that accomplishment, it's undescribable. Like, I mean, it's scary,
especially since it's only been around for 2 full years. 3, it was launched in early 2020, so not even a full year. That in 2020 and 21 and 22 were the first full years that it's been available, and it's already was the best-selling car in the world in Q1. So it's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah, we got to wait to see Q2. I'm sure someone that maybe that same company is gonna crunch numbers on that and see where if it still held the lead over the Corolla, or if it extended its lead over the Corolla. That should be very interesting. Yeah, and Gary's right. Elon did predict it, and I've said this before on this podcast. When he did predict that, I mean, I believed him, but I didn't believe him in terms of, I always obviously took everything Elon says with a big grain of salt. And I can't remember if he gave a timeline, but if he did, I probably never, held him to it. But I'll give him credit now. He was absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he gave a time frame, but I remember when he said that, a lot of people were like,
that's a bold statement.
That's a bold statement, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving right along, that's the Q2 results, and they were very impressive. The next, I guess, biggest, or maybe even more, maybe I should have done it, not to say that these are in order of big news of the month compared to they're not in order, but maybe I should have led with this as opposed to, but once again, just like we're hearing Model Y news every day of them breaking records in this country or that continent or wherever worldwide, we're also hearing of a new, OEM or car manufacturer, if not every day, every few days, or a charge supplier coming out and saying, yeah, we're moving over to NACS. I mean, I think when Ford did it, probably with Ford, but I'll be conservative and say probably when GM came out, then that was where the ball got rolling, or not even the ball got rolling. How am I trying to say this? It was inevitable then. I think it was out of control, that there was no turning back at that point. GM. I think Ford got the ball rolling. GM made sure that the ball didn't stop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is one way to say it. And now, I mean, Volvo, Polestar. Who was it that said this week that they're in talks? Is it VW?
VW. Yeah.
Yeah, VW's in talks, which basically says that they're going to do it. They're just, VW. They're probably trying to wheel and deal and try to get the best deal or something, and penny pinch Tesla. But yeah, at this point, can you see, Darren, in your expert opinion, can you see any auto manufacturer not, or like fight this and be stubborn about this? I have one that comes in.
I think there might be some that will do that, but they'll be just shooting themselves in the foot, because Tesla has a stranglehold on the market right now, and going forward, that's not gonna lessen. So there's no way out. That for someone to not adopt NACS is stupid.
Stupid and just childish and pointless at this point. Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, it's incredible how quickly the thing took off, and I guess maybe the experts knew that it was going to take off this quickly, or this big, when Ford got the ball rolling. But I think it's gone faster than I even most would honestly admit. I mean, what is that standard, that SAE safety standard company or thing down in the US, they're looking into making this, to standardize this and making it official, because really it's not official now. It's just, Tesla came out and said it, right? But hold on, bear with me. Remember I said there would be probably maybe
someone driving by,
one loud muffler or car or motorcycle. That's the one motorcycle. There may be another one, but it's my neighbor and I think he's in for the night. But there is a loud Dodge Demon, I think it is, like the Charger, the one with the red eyes. What's the red eye? Not a Hellcat, but it's the Demon with an aftermarket exhaust system. That thing shakes houses as he drives by. Nice guy, but we all hate when he drives by, how loud it is. Yeah. So getting off on tangents again. Yeah, so we're talking about the major automakers and how you put it in this article here, or this was Scott actually that did this article, but how they embraced NACS and how it's inevitable. I mean, there's more to the article here. I don't want to do this justice. If you're listening, go read the article. It's from June 30th. It's titled "Major Automakers Embrace of NACS, Alleviating Consumer Concerns Over EV Charging Availability." Well, I mean, that's obvious. I mean, that was something that we knew that we were going to see if it took off. And what I think is also that was needed. I mean, one of the articles, or one of the topics I have later, talks about consumers' range anxiety and doubts of charging and just confidence in public charging. So we'll talk about that when it comes up. But yeah, this I mean, if electric cars were to take off and were fully dependent on the third-party networks like they have been right now with CCS, I think EVs would be doomed, in my opinion. Unless someone came and shook it up, maybe someone can turn around and say, yeah, Tesla's the one that came and shook it up and told people to pull their socks up and get their heads out of their what's and smarten up. Maybe that's what it took.
With the reliability and the availability of third-party charging networks right now, I don't see how EV adoption could increase at the rates that countries are setting targets for, because that's like that study is going to show. It's a huge stumbling block for people making the switch to an electric.
Yeah, and I apologize if you were watching. and not just listening. I thought I had the article up on the screen, and in the last 5 minutes I've been talking about it. I didn't. I just realized when I went back I didn't. So here it is now. If people are watching at home and following along, that's the article. And like I didn't. It's funny, we were talking about it. I didn't really scroll down into the meat and potatoes. That's why I said go ahead and read it. I didn't want to go through the whole thing. But yeah, sorry. I thought I had it on the screen, but I wasn't showing it. Yeah.
One thing that a lot of people have been talking about is with all of these automakers switching to NACS is what's Tesla going to do to expand the supercharger network? Because maybe they had, because earlier this year they had, when they qualified for funding from the US government, they committed to opening a certain portion to other EVs and expanding the network at a certain rate. Maybe they knew built into those plans the possibility of other automakers coming on board. But with the number of ones that have come on board, it'd be interesting to know how they plan on expanding the network even further, because there's a lot of stations that aren't busy, but there are also a lot of stations that are busy in certain parts of the country.
Oh yeah,
and it's only going to get worse.
Exactly. No, it is. You're absolutely right. Yeah, out of that RIA, I'm pretty sure. Sorry, IRA, not IRA. I'm pretty sure that they said it was what, $7 billion allocated for that. Now I'm sure Tesla's not getting all of that, but
yeah,
at the same time, I think they're getting a good chunk of it too, right? And yeah, that's to go back in, as well as, you know, the profits they get from opening it up. Like Gary says here in the chat, licensing revenue for NACS is money, or is it open? Like, we don't know. That these are all things that we're not privy to, so we don't know for sure what the deal is with the other automakers, if there is a licensing thing in place. I know Elon did come out, and I mean, he was talking about GM, but I think it goes to say for all of the other automakers that are on board that he's not going to be charging the other manufacturers owners more at the superchargers. It's going to be whatever Tesla owners pay is what they're going to pay. So that's good.
Yeah. Well, here's a REGEN Nation exclusive. So yeah, Mary Barra said that in that interview, that one of the key reasons that she decided to sign on the dotted line and go with NACS was that, yeah, their customers would be charged the same rates that Tesla owners would be. But I've heard from someone in the industry who's in the process of negotiating with Tesla on also adopting NACS, and they are being told that no, they're going to be charged premium rates. So like with the non-Tesla supercharger pilot program that they have going on, where you can purchase a membership to get lower rates, that's also going to be there. And then if you don't have the membership, then you pay a premium over what Tesla owners will pay. So either GM got a special deal, or maybe Mary didn't know the full details. Tough to say.
Yeah, I could see the latter. I could definitely see the latter, because yeah, that makes a good point. I forgot about that. For the handful of Magic Docks that are out there that other manufacturer owners can use, yeah, they buy that package, or they pay per whatever it is, but it's more than Tesla owners.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so you have to figure out, based on how much you're going to use the superchargers, if it's worth paying. I think it's $12.99 or $11.99 for the monthly membership, if that's going to offset the increased rates of not buying the membership.
Okay, here's a question. I know you can't answer, it's a rhetorical question, but it's a question all the same. So say you or I have a Tesla. We've had Teslas, you know, for years, but the next EV we get for the family, we decide to go get a Kia, for example, and in 2025 we start charging that Kia at a Tesla supercharger. Because I am a Tesla owner, technically still and originally, should I get a cheaper rate even though I'm charging up my Kia? Like, is there some way is there like a members card, like that I could carry around?
I like the angle, but I don't see that happening.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Okay, that's thanks for that scoop. That's good to know. Yeah, so I think probably Mary got it wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm not bashing her
just,
or anything.
Just because all the deals seem to have been structured the same way, at least in the public details that have been released, that adapters in 2024 and then the ports and the EVs in 2025.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if the other details in the deal are different for each automaker, but you never know.
Yeah, true. I mean, at this point, I mean, I'm trying to think, would Tesla have any advantage or disadvantage by trying to, at this point, after we've got so many people on board, to now say, okay, anyone coming on now, you're not going to get the same deal because you should have done it, or almost like a penalty.
Yeah, playing hardball. Yeah,
playing hardball. Like, I wonder if they could afford to do that, or maybe the other manufacturer can afford to not, no matter what the terms are. Not that I think Tesla would, rack anyone over the coals or really gouge them. I mean, I think Elon has said time and time again that we're not out to, when he says we, he means Tesla, is not out to bludgeon, I think it was his words, the competition. And he's showing that. I mean, like, because they didn't have to open this. I mean, I know some people would argue and say, yeah, they had to open the network because they were leaving too much money on the table from the government. But, and those would be the the Tesla skeptics and stuff, right? But I don't know. I think they're doing pretty good on their own right now, and I don't think if they did open it, other than that portion of the $7 billion that they're now allotted or privy to, I mean, many could argue that, you know what, they would have made those billions sooner or later on their own, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting that big. And that's another thing I hear from some other people that aren't in the EV industry, but hear the news in the last few weeks and not knowing maybe the ignorance part of it, but they're wondering, like, is that a good thing? And it makes you think. Like, we're in the Tesla community and we deal with it every day, so maybe we don't have the eyes on the outside to stop and think and ask that question to ourselves. Like, yeah, is it a good idea to have one company in control of all of this? I mean, I'm sure
that's a very good question.
yeah, and this is a question that, like I said, many people are asking, right? So
yeah, and they definitely seem to be going down that route of like having a complete stranglehold on the EV charging market.
Yeah, and like Elon saying now, right? Like, we're not in the market, or we're not trying to kill our competition. That's now, but next year, 5 years from now, will they have the same, outlook or demeanor? They could change, right? People change, companies change. Anyways, I mean, yeah, I mean, especially if Elon steps down or we have a different CEO, like, so many things can happen down the road, right? That you just can't say never is never, right? In this day and age. Anyways, our next topic we sort of touched on earlier when we were talking about the numbers and stuff like that. But this is Tesla to shut down. This is what, like I said, we're talking about the Model Y production line at Texas for upgrades. Now, maybe we can, and maybe you talked about this in the article, Darren. As you know, I don't do my research as well as you. In the article, do we know what the line upgrades are?
No, we don't.
No. Now, all this
no
is
specifics
coming from,
on that.
Oh, no. Okay, no specific. This is coming from Joe Tegmeyer, right? This is all his source information, and basically it says that they're shutting down for the week of now, as if you're listening to this at a later time, the week of Independence long weekend. So from the 4th to, what would Friday be? The 8th,
7th
or something? 7th, 8th. Yeah. They're shutting down for upgrades, which is a perfect time to do it, because wouldn't yesterday being the 4th of July, Independence Day, wouldn't they have to shut down anyways? I mean, I know Tesla runs a tight ship when it comes to getting their workers to work, non-unionized, and I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying, would they have been open anyways, or they would have been closed? They would have given their workers a day off. So that's one day that they weren't going to get production. So you might as well, instead of a 5-day week, traditional week to shut down, now we can do it on a 4-day week.
Yeah, no, I don't know for sure, but it makes sense that for them to time it for this week, it makes sense that yesterday would have been an off day anyway. So yeah, might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah. And where does it say here? Okay. Tegmeyer also provided no details on what exactly the upgrade will be. That's what you're just saying. But the shutdown will also coincide with an even more important change related to Cybertruck. During the shutdown, Tesla will be moving some employees who were previously working on a swing shift to the Cybertruck production lines. This is what we were talking about earlier. These employees will be calibrating and conducting final testing on the Cybertruck lines to get them into production status. That is exciting, and this is where Joe talks about putting the potential start of Cybertruck production in late July. Like, that's just weeks away.
That's just or early August.
Yeah, that's exciting. So yeah, we sort of jumped the gun, but we talked about this already, so we don't have to go too much into this. But and then you also mentioned here in it that he mentioned something about another manufacturing plant in Kyle, 20 miles away in Texas.
Yeah, not really much is known about this one. Joe speculates that it is going to produce components for the Model Y and potentially the Cybertruck, but we don't really know yet.
That's cool. That would be good. Okay. Well, like I said, we'll forgo that one. Let me see if I can just go to the next one. Okay. This just happened a few days ago.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, you can't see it because now I'm all paranoid that I did it last time and I didn't even know and I felt like an idiot. But yeah, Tesla brings back Midnight Silver Metallic as a standard color because they did have it. They didn't obviously by you saying bring it back. So I am not going crazy by thinking they did have it a year or two ago, but it was very short-lived.
Yeah, I think it was late 2021 for a few months. Midnight Silver was the standard color in addition to, I think, white at the time.
White, yeah. And then even before that, didn't Tesla experiment with even having black as a standard color at 1.2?
Yeah, black was the standard color before then.
Yeah. So and then so I mean, you tell me, Darren, you're the expert here. Other than aesthetics and having the market and the streets flooded with white Teslas, is there any other reason Tesla would do this? Are we looking at a shortage of paint material? Is it they found a better way, a cheaper way to do Midnight Metallic?
Those are all good questions. I don't know. It could just be changing it up.
I don't mean to put you on a spot. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're not putting me on the spot. But it's an interesting question.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna see. I mean, it depends on how long they keep this for, because they may do the same thing they did last time, where it was short-lived, and then they go back to white and they pull it. And Tesla never makes announcements these things. It's usually like 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning when the kilowatts, Ryan or somebody just tweets something out that one of his followers or him himself found just by scraping the website at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's like, that's never announces these things. It's
no, they don't.
Yeah.
And even to employees, it's sometimes a surprise to employees when they make these changes.
Yeah, I can imagine the next morning. Yeah, people coming in, the sales guys coming in, the sales office for their shift, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
When customers are telling them that, yeah. because they didn't get the internal memo or the email or something.
Yeah.
And then something about the wheel options too, right?
Yeah, that was a bit of a strange one.
So are they going with 18-inch for even for the whole line, like even the performance?
No, performance still gets the 20-inch Uber turbines.
Okay, so it's just a long
Yeah,
range.
long range and the rear wheel drive. You can only get the 18-inch aerial wheels now. No more 19-inch sport wheels.
That's got to be something I would assume would be a short-lived thing. Or
Yeah.
could this be all part of Highland?
That's
Like,
one of the theories going around, is that, yeah, they've cut this off to get rid of their existing supply of 18-inch aerial wheels, because they are going to be changing the design, both the 18 and the 19-inch wheels, with the refresh. Yeah.
At this point, should we even be calling this a refresh anymore?
It's going to be pretty significant. Yeah, it's going to be pretty significant to be considered a refresh. So yeah, maybe refresh isn't the right word anymore.
Yeah, like, I mean, arguably, people could argue and say the S and X was a proper refresh, and some would say it wasn't. It was actually more. But this seems, at least for the Highland, it seems way more from what we've heard. Nothing is official yet. But if we go on just what we've heard, and it all comes to fruition, and it's all true, yeah, this is going to be more than the SNX. Even though the SNX had that rear screen in the back that many people didn't even know about, I don't think that was a rumor. I think it was just a lot of the front things. But yeah, and even little things on the SNX that on the exterior with light design and tail lights and stuff like that, like they changed it up enough that it also made it a completely different car, in my opinion. Now, to the average person out there, yeah, I mean, my wife, as a matter of fact, we were coming back from camping this weekend, and I think we passed a couple Teslas. I don't know where she got the idea from. I'm just assuming we passed a couple of Teslas. And she asked me, she's like, how do you tell the difference between years of Teslas? Between and what she meant with a 21 or a 22 or a 20, right? And yeah, I mean, because she knows that I generally know the difference, or compared to her at least, I guess. But she's just I mean, she drives a car, but she's just an average person that doesn't know much about it, right? Other than driving it. So she couldn't tell the difference between a 2018 and a 2021 Model 3, right?
Yeah.
Like I told her, I said the telltale, the sign for that discrepancy in age is the chrome trim, right?
Chrome.
And she didn't know. Yeah, she's like, oh, the chrome. I said, yeah, if you see chrome door handles or window trim, then it's definitely an 18, 19, and I think maybe early 20s. I think I told her, because I think that's right. It wasn't. It wasn't fully. Anyways, just food for thought. So yeah, I mean, it's
the other reason, which I mentioned in the article, is that it could be a Chinese supply thing, because if you remember when they switched to starting to import cars from China for the Model Y and the Model 3, they stopped taking orders for the white interior and 7-seat configuration for the Model Y.
Yes, they did. Have they?
Neither of those have come. No, neither of those have come back. So this could be another China-related issue, or it could be, like we were saying before, something related to Highland. Not really sure.
Yeah, in my Facebook group, some people have been getting, in the last week or two, been getting the made in China 3s and Ys, or Ys, and in the Facebook group, some people were complaining that some people were complaining about before they even got it, or before they even knew, they weren't even had any skin in the game. They weren't getting one, but they were complaining that it's going to be inferior quality, which it was the complete opposite and couldn't have been further from the truth. But also, some people that did get delivery, they were noticing that they weren't Continental tires, or the normal tires that came on the Y. They were actually, were they Kumos?
I remember seeing some Kumos.
Yeah, they were something other than the norm, and they were wondering if it was like cheaper tire. Like everything
Variable.
that Tesla does, every little change, there's scrutinizing scrutiny about it. So you can't if you're Tesla, you really can't win, right?
No, and I have to admit I was quite surprised at how many people were, and still are, so against getting a car from Giga Shanghai as opposed to Fremont.
Yeah.
The response was stronger than I was expecting.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move topics and let's switch up from Tesla for a minute here, because this is big EV news, and I like to on the channel here I like to prominently talk about Tesla, but also squeeze in some other EV news of interest and stuff like that. And in the last couple weeks, I think it was at least since I had the last podcast, I'm pretty sure that Chevy released the Silverado EV. Mind you, it is the fleet version, so that's the cheapest we're going to see, and it was impressive. It was impressive for the outstanding performance that it looks like it's going to have in terms of range and performance, but also impressive in terms of the price tag. It was also high, but you know what? That's to be expected. I think with all these EV trucks coming out or that are out, including the Lightning and Rivian and all this, and now the Silverado, I don't think that for the people that are holding out and praying and wishing that when the Cybertruck comes out, it's still going to be close to what they were first touting back in 2019. I'm one of them. I'm holding out and praying and wishing, but that's the dreamer Dax. But the realistic Dax on the other side of my shoulder is saying, no way in hell this thing, the Cybertruck, no matter what battery option comes out, is going to be under 80K US. I can't see it, but I hope I'm wrong. But that's the
I hope so too.
for both our sakes, yeah. But no, the Silverado. What'd you think of the performance and the specs?
The specs are definitely impressive. What is it? 400 miles for the? No, it's 450 miles. Yeah. That's 724 kilometers.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then there's the slightly cheaper version of the work truck. Comes with the same range, I think. No, that's slightly less, 350 to 400 miles of range.
Yeah, of course, Chevy couldn't make this any more difficult in their badging of these trucks. The WT, I think there's a WT4 or a 3, and then there's a 3 or a 2. I mean, it's all over the place. And that's we're not even talking the fully loaded RST or RS that's coming out. That's going to be the consumer one, because these ones you need to have a fleet license or something like that to buy these from the dealer or to order them.
I'm not sure what the requirements are, but yeah, I would assume there's some kind of check like that to make sure that you're actually a fleet customer.
Yeah, so we're looking at basically $100,000 Canadian, what this is going to be, because they're saying 77 US. It's a lot. It's a nice truck. It's very because this is the work version, like I said, the fleet version, very plasticky inside and stuff like that. But it's a truck. If you're looking for luxury, you're gonna have to wait for the other one to come out, and that's going to be probably $30,000 more.
Yeah, 105,000 for the RST US.
Yeah. So what's that here in Canada? 140, 150. Jesus.
140. Yeah.
Jesus
Oof, that's a lot.
Yeah. And do we know if the RC is going to have the same kind of mileage for 450 miles range?
It's going to be slightly lower. 400 plus is what they said, I believe. Plus. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you say in this article it's a hefty price tag. That is definitely a hefty price tag. But when I heard that and I saw 400 or 725 kilometers, I quickly started doing the math. Okay, you cut that in half for towing. I'm still getting well over 350 kilometers. I can go anywhere that I normally go when I go camping with my trailer on one charge. Because right now, if I was to get a Rivian or a Lightning, or let's say the Cybertruck came out with the 500 kilometer battery pack, and it's still the same cut in half for towing, I'm only looking at probably half of the Ontario provincial parks that we usually go camping at that I can attain without stopping to charge. But if I have to stop and charge, which I'm sure I will eventually when I do get whatever truck I do end up getting, it's just when you're towing, charging, especially if it's a long weekend or something like that, or a busy supercharger you're stopping at, it's cumbersome. You have to
not
unhook.
easy, especially with a big trailer like yours.
Yeah. Well, I'm automatically thinking of downsizing anyways, but you know how some people buy the trailer and then buy the truck,
Yeah.
And some people say that's backwards. Well, I want to buy the truck and then buy the trailer to accommodate the range.
Priorities.
But no, yeah, exactly. I love our trailer, so no, I'm not changing it up. But we'll see what happens. This Silverado, I'm not a big Chevy fan, but this Silverado is very, very promising and made me excited.
Yeah, it's got some good numbers.
Yes. Okay, moving right along. I just wanted to, like I said, change up from Tesla a little bit and bring something else into it. And then we go right back to Tesla. The next topic is, this is something I saw firsthand myself, for one of them, Tesla's, and this is so localized, I don't have to talk about this very, very long, but new superchargers. I mean, you just mentioned one on your website today that opened, or not today, it was yesterday or day before, opened somewhere on Vancouver Island, right?
Yes.
The first V3.
First V3.
So,
yeah.
So they're opening all over the place. And then you mentioned one today. I remember the one you mentioned today was about Markham opening.
Markham starting
their construction of their third one that's within a 6 or 7 kilometer stretch. But you know what? There's a lot there. It's very congested. So yeah, I can see.
Is there?
Yeah. And if you're looking at this Oakville one, I live in this area, so I'm familiar with where this is, and it's the Mississauga one is crammed and busy all the time. So with this Oakville one opening up, and then there's a new Mississauga one opening up on here in Ontario, just in that area alone will free up and ease the congestion.
And I think that Mississauga one's a V2 as well, right? Am I remember correctly?
Yes, it is. It is a V2 because I always remember making the conscious effort to not park beside somebody. Yeah.
Okay.
So it is. Yeah, it definitely is a V2.
Yeah.
So, but I was out there yesterday. The reason I want to talk about this is I was out there yesterday in Oakville, and my hat's off to the workers, the construction guys that were working. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the show, it was this week we've had a heat wave in southern Ontario, and it was probably not in the 40s, but in the high 30s yesterday with the humidity, and those guys were busting their butts out there. And I made a short video, and I felt sorry for the guy. The guy walked by. He was obviously on his lunch break, and he walked by and he was looking at me filming. And now, obviously, I'm in a Tesla, so he knew what it was all about, right? But I almost wanted to put the camera down and wind down the window and thank him and shake his hand, or buy him a drink or something. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I almost felt like doing that. I didn't because I'm an a-hole, but I felt like doing that. And
counts, right?
Yeah, it's the thought that counts. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see when that comes. Anyways, that they were just forming and framing the concrete curbs and stuff like that. So they had the conduits all sticking up. So that part of it looks like it's run or constructed, but they're still early stages away. And like I posted that on some pictures on Twitter, and our friend Trevor Page, who's in the know with this kind of stuff, he was quick to say, and he's absolutely right. I said, and I remember saying that, barring any delays, this is probably 2 or 3, I think I said maybe 4 months off. And he was quick to say, Ontario, there will be delays. There will be some kind of permit issue, or someone's, sitting on their hands and not doing what they're supposed to do. And there will be delays. It's just inevitable.
But it'll still come before Brockville, right?
Oh, Brockville. You know what?
I know about it living in BC.
We don't even need Brockville anymore. With Napanee coming soon, and with Gananoque for me, I can get almost on a full charge from my place to Gananoque when I'm going out east to Ottawa or Montreal, which is perfect. Like, I mean, if Brockville came, I wouldn't be able to use Brockville anyways, because that would mean I would have to stop somewhere in Oshawa or Pickering or Kingston or Port Hope, which I'm stopping too early unless I don't fill up to, or not fill up, charge up to 100% at home. But why wouldn't you, on a road trip, right? So for me, Gananoque is perfect. I don't need Brockville anymore. And I honestly, and any of your Canadian listeners, I know this is so inside baseball. Anyone else is listening in any other country, you're like, why are you guys talking about places that we've never even heard of? So I won't go on anymore. But Brockville, we don't need it. I don't think it's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Our last topic before we finish up here, this podcast, we're going to talk about, and we'll be quick on this one too. I saw this article and I thought, oh, really? 2/3 of Canadians unlikely to buy an EV. That's what the study says. And this study was, I should know, was it JD Power?
JD
Canada?
Power, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Electric vehicle consideration study. Okay, so they had 66% of Canadians said that they were either very unlikely or somewhat unlikely to consider purchasing an EV for their next vehicle. And that in your article here, it says that figure significantly drops 13% from when they did the same study, I guess, last year in 2022. Yeah. So that's unnerving or unliked by me, I guess I could say, for lack of any. I'm speechless.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a 2 or 3 or 4 percentage point drop, you could say, yeah, that's just what's the phrase? Not statistically significant, but a 13% drop is statistically significant.
Yeah, it says something. It definitely says something. But this is the important thing. We were talking about this earlier. The study identified 3 major obstacles in EV consideration. Range anxiety is number 1, or not. I don't know if in this order, but is one of them. Charging infrastructure, number 2, and retail price. But we were talking about this when we were talking earlier about NACS, the charging infrastructure. Yeah, I guess people, when they're not thinking of Tesla, they're just thinking of any other EV. Yeah, you have to look at that. And yeah, I guess the infrastructure could be scary. I mean, there's a little bit of ignorance there too, right? Like allowable,
sure, yeah.
Forgivable ignorance is what I should say. Like, not ignorance in terms of like you should know, but it's new to everyone. And there's a lot of education that isn't out there that needs to be more, I guess, prevalent. And if the government's going to be pushing this, as many governments around the world are, pushing this with incentives and trying to get people to adopt EVs and renewable stuff, they maybe, I guess, on top of what they're doing, I guess they should have some kind of obligation to educate people too about it.
For sure, education is definitely a big piece of this. And yeah.
And this article, if it's true, which I don't see why it wouldn't be true, I also mean if it's accurate, I mean, it shows glaringly that the vast majority of people, no fault of theirs, or maybe you could say it's their fault, aren't educated about electric vehicles and the infrastructure and charging curves and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, obviously, you and I and anyone listening to this podcast, we're on a different level, but I go back to saying, the common folk, the normal everyday people that aren't like crazy like us about this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm forever, and I'm happy to do it, right? I'm happy to do it. I'm forever talking to my coworkers and friends and family and telling them things and disproving myths here and there. And when people hear it, they're like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said,
and I think a lot of that comes from the early days of EVs when things weren't as good as they are today, and that's kind of what people have stuck in their heads. They don't know how the industry has progressed and advanced. Yeah, it's a totally different story than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, Gary here says, yeah, Canada has a wider distance than the U.S. I don't know if he's meaning coast to coast, but I'm pretty sure he's talking about what we're talking about in terms of EV adoption and education. And I mean, I don't know. Is it incentive based that maybe our governments aren't putting out enough money to incentivize people for them to, do a Google search and find out for their own and do their own homework? I don't know. Uh, are we saying that places like the U.S. and European countries are doing more? Their governments are doing more and having better incentives. Like, I think if you ever wanted to look for a model on how to do this, I think any country would be foolish to not look any further than Norway, right?
Yeah, incentives play a huge role. And I mean, you can even see that in Canada, where at the provincial level, where there's incentives in BC and Quebec, they are far ahead of every other province.
Compared to Ontario.
Yeah.
I think Dan from Northern Tesla did a video a few weeks ago, and I know you had an article there with him about that video where he talked about he broke it all down, and it was funny to see some provinces, some small provinces. When I say small, smaller than Ontario, that had better incentive programs than Ontario.
Oh yeah. There's a surprising number of incentive programs out there.
Yeah.
And still Ontario isn't one of them.
Gary says here, I'm sure that the sediment are different from province to province. Yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. So that wraps it up. I think we've done all the topics, Darren. Is there anything that you need to publicly correct me on that I messed up on?
No.
Go ahead.
You did an excellent job, Dax.
Thank you. I passed. See, when I'm doing this by myself, or I'm doing it when you're not on the show, I'm like, well, Darren's not here, so I could, I can make this up and I can talk out of my
just
butt.
Wing it.
Yeah, but now you got me on my P's and Q's, buddy. I'm just kidding. Julio, thanks for joining us. He says, great job, guys. Thanks, Julio. You always find it some time out of his busy schedule to watch the show live. If you are, speaking of which, if you get a chance to watch it live, it's always great. And remember at the beginning, Darren, I said one factor I didn't take into consideration when I thought of having this outside was the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to wrap this up in just 1 minute because
I can see you like moving all over.
Yeah, I just got my first bite, but you know what? I'm already covered from going camping for the long weekend. We got some good bites already on all of us, but it's all part of camping and all part of doing a podcast outside.
Part of the experience.
Yeah, no. So what I was saying is if you're fortunate and nice enough to watch us live, that's great. But if you watch us later, and you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. We do this every month, and I also do different videos, test related and accessory related and non-test related sometimes and stuff like that. And if you're listening to the audio version, you're like during your commute and one of your podcast streaming services. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. If your podcast system enables you to rate, which I think they all do now, in a star system, like 5 stars or 3 stars or thumbs up. I don't know how it does it. And you're enjoying this. I mean, I've never asked this before, and I'm sure it makes a difference, but I've never really thought of it. This podcast isn't monetized, isn't sponsored or anything, so there's no gain. I just do this for the fun. I mean, I paid Darren $500 to be here, but other than that, yeah, I'm kidding. I wish I could pay you $500. But yeah, if you feel it in your good heart, just and you like the show and the podcast, you found it informative and entertaining, give me 5 stars or 4 stars or 3 stars or thumbs up, whatever you like. But apparently
Gary only gave you 1 star.
Gary, son of a.
But then he corrected himself to 5.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's 6 he gave me. No, 5. You're right. I just can't count.
Oh no, if you add them together, it's 6. There you go.
Yes. Any before we go, any Tesla related news that happened in your life since we spoke last? And if you don't, I don't mean to put you on a spot.
You're putting me on the spot. I can't think of anything exciting that's happened in my Tesla world lately.
No worries. Your cars are going good. There's no issues with them or anything like that.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
both doing great. Yeah, actually the
awesome.
warranty just expired a couple of weeks ago on the 3. It's been
Yeah,
4 years, so yeah, I'm now one of those out of warranty people.
well, there is supposed to be a Canadian warranty company that's
Yes, coming
around.
soon.
It's supposed to be coming soon. Yeah, it's in Quebec. It's Quebec based, I think, and it was started out in Quebec, and it was supposed to come to Ontario. I was speaking to a buddy of mine that is in the know and is related to that, associated with that, and he told me it was coming soon, but maybe
Yeah.
there was some hiccups. Anyways, hopefully it'll come
So,
soon because yeah,
yep, here's another Regen Nation exclusive. It is available in Ontario right now,
it is.
but you'll be hearing about it very soon. We're just working on the details. I'm going to be helping them promote it. So,
Oh, good, 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 good. Is it
yeah,
the same company I'm thinking of? I guess there is only one, right?
yeah,
The Quebec,
it's the same
right?
one. Yeah, it
Yeah.
started in Quebec. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
I haven't spoke to my buddy in a while, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Actually, I did speak to him. I spoke to him just a few weeks ago. I had a question about Montreal when I went to the race, but we didn't touch on. It was just very specific. I didn't want to bother him on a weekend, so I just asked him about the metro and stuff like that and parking. And anyways, you know what I did? It's not Tesla related, but it's EV related. And we're losing light too. So the other reason I'm going to wrap this up in a minute is not only the mosquitoes but the light. People may not know. I don't expect everyone to know, but before I had my Tesla, I had my first EV was a Kia Soul EV. That car was great. I loved it. Anyways, it was a Kia. I had that for a while, and I was on the mailing list, and every now and then I get special offers from Kia, and I just ignore them and stuff. Last week, I get this email from Kia about the EV9, saying if you want to be first to own it, it's coming soon to Canada and stuff. Anyways, it's basically it's sign up now to get your spot in line. So I thought, just for the hell of it, I put in my email and phone number and skip a week. This week, I get a phone call from, it says Kia Toronto or Toronto Kia, I forget which way it is. And I answered it, and nice sales guy. He's saying, okay, it's not out yet. He goes, we don't know when it's coming. We just know in the fall, maybe early next year. Details are still sketchy. They don't even have pricing. And that's what I was hoping that they would have is pricing, but they didn't have pricing. But he said next week they're opening up orders. Anyone who wants to order, it's fully refundable. It's $1,000 deposit, and that locks your spot in line, and then it's fully refundable. So I've been looking.
Then still no prices in a week.
Still no price. And I said to him, I would really like to know a price before I lock in, or I give you $1,000 to lock in a thing. He goes, well, you typical sales guy, right? Nice guy, like I said. He said, if you want, you can still put the $1,000 down, and then a month or a week later, if you find out the price gets released and you find out it's not what you were hoping for, you can get your money back. So I thought, that might be a good idea. So anyway, it's supposed to be next week. And then today, another guy reached out to me from the same dealership. I guess another sales guy. I guess he didn't know that his associate called me. And I said, yeah, I already spoke to your guy yesterday. He goes, okay, no problem. He goes, yeah. So he was able to answer a little bit more questions because while I had him on the phone, I figured, I'll pick your brain. He seems to think, and this is, take it with a grain of salt. He even said to me, he says, don't quote me on this. But he goes, if I had to guess, I think here in Canada, it's going to start at 70,000. But that's going to be the smaller battery, the rear wheel drive. Like there's going to be, I think, 4 or 5 different trims for that. Anyways, it's an exciting car, and it made me think it tows 5,000 pounds, and it's a 6-seater. It apparently won't have the swiveling second row seat here in North America because of some laws, but they only have it in Korea. Anyways, so yeah, that's my EV news that excited me for the week at least.
So you might be going back to a Kia EV next year.
Yeah, you never know, buddy. I know. I had a talk with my wife last night about it already, and you never know. Oh, we'll see. I'm not committing to anything, but it is an exciting vehicle, and it looks promising. I'll tell you that at least. I mean, I know it's not a Tesla. I know it doesn't have the Kia or Hyundai is not officially on board yet, but apparently they're in talks maybe. with Tesla to go with NACS, and eventually I know they will, right? It's just not official, but I mean, this is what happens. Going back to NACS before we just end the show, I'll just say this is what happens when public charging is not an issue anymore. People can freely look at different things before when they were not looking or they felt restricted. Yeah. Anyways, we'll leave it at that because it is getting dark and I can see lights above me here, which I didn't see before. They were on, but I didn't see them. Darren, thanks very much for joining us tonight.
No worries. Thanks for having me
tonight. And I would normally ask you where people could find you, but I think everyone knows Drive Tesla Canada, the website itself, and Twitter. You're very active on Twitter.
You try to be. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, you are, man. It's between you and Elon. I don't know who tweets more. I think you got the same amount of followers too, don't you?
I wish. just a few 100 million off, but
yeah. Unless you want to, yeah, who's counting? Unless you want to correct me, is there anywhere else you want to tell people to find you?
Yeah, no, those are the two best spots.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on. I will second you once again, probably in another 3 months. And maybe that's. I'll give you the break for all the other podcasts, and then I'll bring you in when the earnings call is right after the earnings call, so we can talk about it because you seem to know all the juicy details about that.
Or when the Cybertruck comes out.
Oh, well, whichever. That's going to be a big podcast. I'm going to have everyone on.
Yeah.
I've given all these guys a break and been doing it on my own and stuff. But when the Cybertruck comes out, we're going to have a big podcast party. All of us. It's going to be like
I'll be there.
It's going to be like the Brady Bunch screen. Okay, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you later. Take care. Bye-bye.